Alright, has anybody been watching the finals? No. Is anyone watching my videos? Also no. Okay, well it's a perfect match. The NBA bubble experiment is complete with the Lakers winning the title in 6 games. It will be a very long offseason for the LeBron James haters, formerly known as the 3-6 Mafia, as LeBron has captured his 4th ring, and while the critics of the Bubble Championship probably view the bubble in the same tier as that of the Hardcore Championship in the WWF or the BMF belt in the UFC, that being that those titles don't compare with the real other titles, there is no doubt the Lakers put their blood, sweat, and tears into this win, and in my opinion it is just as valid, if not more valid, than any other NBA title. Having said all that, I feel like there was one major, or at least should have been major story that flew under the radar this bubble, especially during the finals. Why did it fly under the radar? Well, the media was too busy focusing on LeBron, AD, Jimmy Butler and his huge balls, and invoking Kobe at every possible moment and chance they got, like in this instance. And rest in peace to Kobe, but they're fucking numbers. They're fucking numbers. Can you let the man rest in peace? God damn, you sick fucks at ESPN. Anyway, no. The story that should have been told that wasn't was the rise, the redemption, the resurgence, whatever you want to call it, of Kentavious Caldwell Pope, the man known as KCP. And that is NBA champ KCP to you. It really has been a long journey for Mr. Pope, especially on the Lakers. He started his career, of course, in Detroit, and was actually a very promising young player on both sides of the ball. The 8th overall pick in 2013 out of Georgia, played 4 years in Detroit and averaged 14.5 points and 13.8 points per game per season in his last 2 seasons. And KCP was a good, solid player his first 4 years who seemed to have a high ceiling, but being that he played in Detroit, well, nobody knew who the fuck he was. And that's not a shot at Detroit either, that's just how it goes. After royally botching a contract extension negotiation with the Pistons, KCP became a free agent and signed with the Lakers to a 1-year, $18 million deal. Lakers GM Rob Pelinka compared the signing of KCP to the story of food coming down from heaven to feed the wandering Israelites in the desert. Pelinka said that this was a story from the book of Genesis. And folks, as I have harped on time and time again, this is a secular, apolitical channel, but just from a biblical scholar standpoint, everybody knows, Rob, that is from the book of Exodus, not Genesis. Rob, you're lucky you made that mistake in the modern age, because if you made that mistake hundreds and hundreds of years ago, misquoting the Bible in front of a pope, you would have been dealt with accordingly. People have been burned at the stake for far less offenses. We all remember, and will never forget, the great Jan Hus. Anyway, once that was said about him, the tracks fell off the KCP train almost immediately. KCP didn't live up to his potential within his first year at the Lakers, and arguably still hasn't. And to make matters worse, his first season, stemming from a DUI the previous season, KCP, by a court order, had to sit out for road games during a 25-day period during the month of December. And when he did play during home games, believe it or not, he actually had to wear an ankle monitor. Pelinka and KCP couldn't get away from that Bible comment, and as KCP failed to live up to the hype in his first year, people started to ask a few questions about that $18 million he got paid. Who is KCP's agent? Rich Paul. Who is one of soon-to-be free agent LeBron James' best friends and also agent? Rich Paul. KCP has been accused of only being on the Lakers simply to build that relationship with LeBron James' agent to land him in the following season. This has been thrown at KCP relentlessly before, during, and after LeBron was signed to the Lakers in 2018. And I mean, there's gotta be some truth to it, right? Fuck it, I'll pay KCP $40 million if it means I have a chance at LeBron the next year. Step 1, sign KCP. Step 2, develop a relationship with Rich Paul. Step 3, get LeBron. Step 4, profit, win a championship. That's how the Lakers did it. Now, keeping it within the offseason of 2018 after signing LeBron, despite all the negative noise around KCP, they would sign him again to a 1-year, $12 million contract. And then, after not living up to the hype again, they would re-sign him to a 2-year, $16 million contract in 2019 with a player option for that second year. After the Lakers went out and got Anthony Davis in a move that netted them a second superstar, critics of the Lakers worried if AD and LeBron and then a bunch of role players could actually win an NBA title. Were they deep enough? Did they need a super team? Did they need 3 superstars? And after 2 years of underperforming, Lakers fans entered the 2019-2020 season being optimistic, but also with a deep hatred for Kentavious Caldwell Pope. Anyway, opening night against the Clippers, the favored Clippers, a lot of people thought would win the title, KCP went scoreless, and all the pundits said that the Lakers would not win because they weren't deep enough, and a lot of that had to do with KCP underperforming. KCP didn't score his first point of that NBA season until the second game, late in the second game when he netted a free throw, and the fans sarcastically went wild. And hey, I'm a Philly sports fan. I can appreciate a player that's playing like shit constantly getting trolled. I mean, the fans are booing him. I feel like a lot of fan bases would have done that. KCP was written off. His approval rating was at an all-time low. You couldn't go on Twitter without the clip of Pelinka saying that KCP was a gift from God. The Lakers fans had 100% turned on KCP, and really all the NBA fan base had as well. He wasn't playing well, and the fans let him know. There were no KCP defenders during this time. They didn't exist. Well, that is with the exception of his teammates, because his teammates never turned on him for a moment, and everyone from Dwight Howard to LeBron to Caruso expressed public support for KCP. They weren't ready to give up on him, and it's a good thing they didn't, because he turned it around that year. There were certainly a lot of downs, but there were also a lot of ups as well. He was playing well on both sides of the ball. His defensive work is kind of underrated and overlooked. But fast forward to today. The Lakers have won an NBA title, and no bullshit, they couldn't have done so without Kentavious Caldwell Pope. The top two players on the Lakers this year are pretty obvious. It's Alex Caruso and Jared Dudley. Okay, it's AD and LeBron. That's obvious. But the third has been all over the place this year. It's fluctuated. Some would say Danny Green. But after his misses in Game 5, I'm hesitant because after his Game 5 performance, I feel like Lakers fans will start breaking out the pitchforks. Of course, Kyle Kuzma, well, he hasn't really lived up to the hype, especially not since his rookie year, so I'd say probably not him. Rondo's played pretty well at times, Howard has, but if you're going strictly on points, I think you gotta say Kentavious Caldwell Pope. And not to make light of getting arrested, and certainly not getting a DUI, which is extremely severe, but if you can play with an ankle monitor, you can probably play in a bubble. And play he did, shooting 38.4% from 3 entering Game 5 on 5.6 attempts. Keep in mind, his average for the regular season was 38.5% from 3, but on much less 3.5 attempts from 3 per game. He had to step up in a big way when Avery Bradley opted out of the bubble, and step up he did. And not to mention, it wasn't always smooth sailing for KCP in the bubble, going 0 for 9 in his first playoff game against the Blazers. But he's rallied back, and somehow, someway, has earned every damn penny of that contract, all 3 contracts the last 3 years, and has the option to opt out for this year. And if he does, he will get paid. And also that comment Pelinka made about KCP being a gift from the gods, that's totally prophetic. KCP is Christ. That comment was once the laughingstock, now it is 100% entirely true. KCP is God. And I think that the Lakers, and maybe the Heat, were the most locked in and mentally strong teams in the bubble. And the Lakers, you heard all year how close they were. They would go to the movies together, they would go out to dinner together, they would fuck each other's wives. I don't know what these players do, but they would be so close-knit together. It's easy to see how they could rally behind a player like KCP, a man who was counted out just several months ago at the beginning of the year, and just come together and win. And it's a shame that the Lakers fans weren't there in person to see KCP's resurgence and embrace him. In professional wrestling, when a bad guy turns from bad to good, it's called a face turn. Hollywood Hulk Hogan did it in WrestleMania 18. And it's a shame the fans weren't there to see this. But the layoff into the bubble from COVID was essentially a second offseason. Maybe that was the mental break KCP needed to shine and return to form. And maybe KCP benefited from no fans at all in the environment. Regardless, I'm sure Lakers fans will embrace KCP when the NBA allows fans back in around 2030. Alright, that is it. Salute to you, KCP. I also forgot to mention that KCP came within 5 3-point shots made from tying Kobe Bryant's record of most 3-point shots made during an NBA playoff run for the Lakers. That is incredible. KCP in the same breath as Kobe, and it's actually justified. I'm not pulling it out of my ass like ESPN. Alright, that is it. NBA bubble is over. That was fun. Let's never do that again. Thank you all for watching. There will be more videos. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I got some draft content coming. Got some G League content coming. Shout out to Kai Soto, Jalen Green. As well as check out the website. Please, I beg you. My family is starving. And check us out on social media. Alright, thank you and have a good day.